In the midst of World War II, the American agricultural landscape faced unique challenges. The year 1944 marked a crucial period characterized by both abundance and scarcity, with the United States finding itself in an unusual position of managing surplus grain while engaged in a global conflict. This paradox unfolded starkly in the rural heartland of Iowa, where German prisoners of war, POWs, encountered the perplexing sight of excess grain being deliberately destroyed. This narrative delves into the complex interplay of logistics, economics, and wartime exigencies that shaped this historical moment. The story begins at Camp Algona, located in Kossuth County, Iowa. Established in 1943, Camp Algona served as a principal POW camp, housing German soldiers captured in the European theater. By 1944, the camp's capacity reached approximately 3,000 prisoners, making it one of the largest POW installations in the Midwest. The camp's layout was typical of such facilities, featuring a series of barracks surrounded by barbed wire fences, guard towers, and administrative buildings. Security was maintained by the 34th Military Police Company, tasked with overseeing the daily operations and ensuring adherence to wartime protocols. Life at Camp Algona was a blend of strict military discipline and attempts at normalcy. The barracks, though stark, were organized efficiently to accommodate the prisoners, offering basic amenities. Each day began with a roll call, a routine that underscored the regimented existence within the camp. The prisoners were issued uniforms marked with PW to denote their status, a constant reminder of their captive state. Despite the circumstances, the camp's administration sought to maintain humane conditions, adhering to the Geneva Convention's guidelines. Integral to the camp's function was the use of POW labor in local industries. The Geneva Convention permitted the employment of prisoners in non-combat roles, and in Iowa, this translated to a variety of assignments in agriculture, canneries, lumber mills, and railroads. Prisoners were contracted out to local farms and businesses under the supervision of the U.S. Army Provost Marshal General's Office. Transportation logs from the period document the movement of work details to various sites, reflecting a well-coordinated system designed to alleviate labor shortages caused by the war. The POWs' workdays were long and labor-intensive, beginning early in the morning and often extending into the evening. Despite the demanding schedule, many prisoners found solace in the physical labor, a welcome distraction from the monotony of camp life. The work offered them a sense of purpose, albeit within the confines of their captivity. Payment for their labor, though minimal, allowed the prisoners to purchase goods from the camp canteen, providing a semblance of normalcy and autonomy. The agricultural sector in Iowa, renowned for its robust production, faced an ironic dilemma. Despite wartime rationing and widespread food shortages, the state experienced an overproduction of grain. Surplus stockpiles, exacerbated by inadequate storage facilities and limited transportation options, led to spoilage. Agricultural officers, constrained by commodity pricing regulations and humidity thresholds, were often compelled to make difficult decisions. When warehouse capacity reached its limits and grain exceeded acceptable moisture levels, the only recourse was to destroy the excess to prevent rot and contamination. Farmers faced a heartbreaking reality as they watched their hard work go up in flames. The decision to destroy the grain was not made lightly. It was a last resort dictated by circumstances beyond their control. The burning of the grain was a somber affair, with farmers and agricultural officers gathering to oversee the operation. The flames consumed the carefully harvested crops, leaving behind a charred reminder of the war's far-reaching impact. Historical records, including War Department circulars and state agricultural reports, provide detailed accounts of these grain destruction events. In the fall of 1944, one such operation was meticulously documented in Kossuth County. Farmers, under the direction of agricultural officers, set fire to piles of spoiled grain, a process observed by both local civilians and POWs. The resultant ash pile was measured, recorded, and signed off for state auditors, reflecting a bureaucratic process that prioritized efficiency over sentimentality. The sight of burning grain elicited a range of emotions from those present. For the POWs, it was a stark contrast to the privations of wartime Europe, where food was scarce and rationing was a daily reality. They watched in disbelief as the flames devoured what could have been sustenance for thousands. For the local civilians, there was a sense of frustration and resignation, knowing that the destruction was a necessity rather than a choice. For the German POWs, witnessing the destruction of food was a stark contrast to the conditions in war-ravaged Europe. In areas like the Saarland, families subsisted on meager rations, often resorting to boiling potato peels for sustenance. The POWs' observations, captured in camp newspapers and Red Cross inspection reports, reveal their bewilderment at the abundance being discarded. This incongruity was not lost on local civilians, whose attitudes towards the POWs were shaped by a mixture of curiosity, pragmatism, and, at times, resentment. Interactions between the POWs and the local community were complex and multifaceted. While some locals viewed the prisoners with suspicion, others saw them as individuals caught in the machinery of war. Stories of kindness and camaraderie emerged, with some farmers developing a grudging respect for the hard-working POWs who toiled alongside them. These interactions, though limited, offered glimpses of shared humanity amidst the chaos of war. Within Camp Algona, the food systems were governed by strict rationing policies. POWs received meals that adhered to guidelines set forth by the U.S. Army, ensuring nutritional adequacy while reflecting wartime constraints. Records indicate that prisoners were provided with food coupons and wages for their labor, albeit at a fraction of the standard civilian rate. These earnings could be used to purchase additional goods from the camp canteen, offering a modicum of autonomy within the confines of captivity. The meals served to the POWs were a far cry from the hearty fare they were accustomed to in Germany. Yet, the camp kitchens worked diligently to provide balanced meals, often incorporating local produce and meats. The prisoners, though appreciative, could not help but draw comparisons to the abundance they witnessed outside the camp. The irony was not lost on them as they watched surplus grain burn while they made do with their rations. Camp discipline was maintained through a combination of military oversight and internal camp administration. Medical access was available, with facilities staffed by Army medical personnel and supplemented by Red Cross resources. Educational programs facilitated by the YMCA offered courses in various subjects, contributing to the POW's intellectual engagement and preparation for eventual repatriation. The educational opportunities provided a lifeline for many prisoners, allowing them to expand their knowledge and prepare for life after the war. Language classes, vocational training, and cultural programs were offered, fostering a sense of community and intellectual growth. These initiatives, though limited by the constraints of captivity, were a testament to the resilience and adaptability of the human spirit. The events of 1944 in Iowa serve as a poignant illustration of the complexities inherent in managing wartime resources. The deliberate destruction of surplus grain, witnessed by German POWs, underscores the intricate balance between economic efficiency and humanitarian considerations. As the war progressed towards its conclusion, these experiences would shape the post-war repatriation and re-education programs, contributing to a broader understanding of resource management in a world striving for peace. In retrospect, the sight of burning grain stands as a powerful symbol of the contradictions and challenges of wartime America. It serves as a reminder of the difficult decisions that must be made in times of crisis and the enduring impact of those choices on both individuals and nations. As we reflect on this historical moment, we are reminded of the resilience and adaptability required to navigate the complexities of a world at war, and the hope that even in the darkest times, humanity can find a path towards understanding and reconciliation. In the late autumn of 1944, the fields surrounding Camp Algona, located in the heartland of Iowa, lay dormant beneath a sky that seemed to mirror the somber mood of the season. The harvests that had once brought life and color to the landscape were concluded, their bounty either stored for the winter months or, more often than not, resigned to flames in a scene that perplexed many. The German POWs, housed within the confines of the camp, observed these activities with a mixture of bewilderment and resignation. Their daily routines, meticulously structured by the camp administration, were briefly interrupted by the systematic destruction of the grain, a process that seemed alien and wasteful to them. The agricultural officers, tasked with overseeing this disposal, moved with the practiced efficiency of those well-versed in the bureaucratic and economic constraints of wartime. Their actions, directed by the rigid policies of the era, reflected a complex interplay of necessity and loss. The surplus grain, deemed unfit for storage due to spoilage and the lack of adequate transportation infrastructure to move it to more needy areas, was piled high in makeshift pyres that dotted the once productive fields. Agricultural officers, armed with clipboards and a sense of duty, meticulously documented each pyre, noting the weight and condition of the grain before it was set alight. This grim task was not carried out lightly. The decision to burn was a calculated measure aimed at preventing further economic loss, dictated by commodity pricing models and the limitations of local warehouse capacities, which were already stretched thin by the exigencies of a wartime economy. For the POWs, many of whom hailed from agricultural backgrounds in regions like the Saarland in Germany, the sight was particularly jarring. In their homeland, where the war had wrought scarcity and hardship, food was a precious commodity, and the idea of burning excess grain would have been unthinkable. Yet, here in the fertile lands of Iowa, it was an accepted, if regrettable, aspect of life during wartime. The camp's administrative staff, aware of the potential for unrest and misunderstanding among the prisoners, took steps to address these concerns through educational sessions. These sessions, often led by agricultural experts, were intended to provide a broader understanding of the systemic issues at play. They delved into the complexities of wartime economies, explaining the rationale behind such drastic measures, but these explanations did little to assuage the emotional impact of witnessing such waste. The educational programs at Camp Algona were part of a broader effort to maintain morale and discipline among the POWs. The camp offered classes on a variety of subjects, ranging from language instruction to vocational skills, providing the prisoners with opportunities for intellectual engagement and personal growth. These programs were designed to occupy the POWs' minds and time, offering a semblance of normalcy amidst the surreal circumstances of their captivity. The camp newspaper, a collaborative effort between POWs and American personnel, included articles that explored these educational initiatives, as well as reports on local agricultural practices and broader wartime developments. This juxtaposition of educational enrichment with the harsh realities of war created a complex environment that both challenged and enriched the POWs' perspectives, fostering a sense of community and shared experience. Meanwhile, the local civilian population, though aware of the surplus grain burning, remained largely disconnected from the intricacies of its cause. For many farmers, the destruction of their hard-earned produce was a source of frustration and emotional pain. They had labored through the planting and growing seasons, only to see the fruits of their labor go up in smoke. Initially, there was resistance to the idea of burning the grain, but over time, as the explanations provided by agricultural officers took root, a grudging acceptance emerged. The officers emphasized the importance of maintaining commodity prices and avoiding market saturation, arguments that, while logical, did little to alleviate the emotional burden of witnessing their labor reduced to ashes. The burned grain left behind piles of ash, a stark reminder of the waste and loss inherent in wartime economies. These ashes were not forgotten. They were meticulously documented and signed off for state auditors, serving as a testament to the bureaucratic diligence that characterized much of the wartime effort on the home front. In a small but meaningful gesture, the ashes were repurposed as fertilizer, allowing some remnants of the harvest to return to the soil, contributing to future yields and offering a glimmer of hope for regeneration in the seasons to come. The POWs' work assignments in local industries provided them with a different perspective on the American war effort. Employed in various capacities, from agricultural labor to industrial tasks, they were afforded a first-hand view of the economic machine that powered the Allied war effort. Their labor was regulated by strict protocols, ensuring compliance with the Geneva Conventions, and they were compensated with a nominal wage that could be used within the camp's canteen, allowing them to purchase small comforts and necessities. These work assignments offered the POWs a sense of purpose and a connection to the world beyond the camp, even as they remained acutely aware of their status as captives. Despite the controlled circumstances of their captivity, the POWs were not immune to the broader currents of wartime life. News of the ongoing conflict in Europe, filtered through camp-approved channels, was a constant reminder of the world beyond the barbed wire. Reports of food shortages and rationing in Germany contrasted starkly with the abundance they witnessed in Iowa, reinforcing the paradox of their situation. This dissonance was a source of reflection and introspection, prompting many POWs to consider the broader implications of war and the interconnectedness of global economies. As the year drew to a close, the routine at Camp Algona continued with little deviation. The POWs, having adapted to the rhythms of camp life, marked the passage of time through a series of structured activities, from work assignments to educational programs. The destruction of surplus grain, while a significant event, was but one episode in the larger narrative of their captivity. Yet it remained a poignant reminder of the complexities and contradictions inherent in wartime resource management, a testament to the challenges of balancing efficiency with compassion. The story of the grain burnings and the POWs' experiences at Camp Algona offers a glimpse into the intricate web of economic, agricultural, and military considerations that defined this period. It highlights the challenges of balancing efficiency with compassion, a task that continues to resonate in discussions of resource management and humanitarian concerns today. The events at Camp Algona serve as a testament to the adaptability of the human spirit in the face of adversity, as well as the enduring impact of historical decisions on both individuals and communities. Through the lens of history, we are reminded of the importance of empathy, understanding, and the pursuit of solutions that honor both economic realities and human dignity. The day continued under the somber skies of Iowa, a gray canvas stretching endlessly over the horizon, where the seemingly paradoxical act of grain burning was carried out with mechanical precision. The air was thick with the scent of earth and impending rain, a familiar prelude to the unpredictable weather patterns that often swept across the plains. In this moody backdrop, the German POWs, accustomed to their regimented existence at Camp Algona, stood as silent witnesses to a spectacle that defied their understanding of wartime scarcity. Their uniforms, faded but meticulously kept, were a stark contrast to the vibrant fields that surrounded them, a living testament to the bizarre twists of fate that had brought them to this distant land. The agricultural officers, clad in their routine work attire, moved with practiced efficiency, overseeing the controlled combustion of what was once the lifeblood of the fields. Their weathered faces bore the marks of long hours under the sun, etched with lines that spoke of both experience and the unrelenting demands of their duties. The officers were a pragmatic lot, tasked with the unenviable job of orchestrating the destruction of food in a time when hunger was a global specter. Their voices, though calm and measured, carried a weight of authority as they directed the proceedings, ensuring that every detail of the operation adhered to the protocols established in their meticulously detailed reports. At the heart of this operation was a complex interplay of agricultural economics and logistical constraints. The officers, versed in the intricacies of commodity pricing and storage logistics, understood the necessity of such measures. The grain, despite its abundance, had surpassed the humidity threshold suitable for long-term storage. The warehouses, built with the capacity to accommodate typical harvests, were ill-equipped to handle the surplus brought about by favorable growing conditions and reduced export opportunities due to global conflict. This was a bitter irony. The fields had yielded abundantly, yet the fruits of that bounty were destined for destruction due to a series of unfortunate circumstances that intertwined economics and warfare. From a logistical standpoint, the decision to incinerate the excess was a calculated one. Transportation networks were strained, prioritizing the movement of troops and essential war materials. Railways, the veins of the nation, were clogged with the demands of war, leaving little room for the luxuries of surplus grain. The agricultural officers, in their reports, documented the proceedings meticulously, ensuring that every pound of grain reduced to ash was accounted for and justified. These reports, destined for the scrutiny of state auditors, captured the intricate details of wartime resource management, an exercise in balancing abundance with necessity. Each page was a testament to the cold arithmetic of war, where survival often necessitated the sacrifice of plenty. For the local farmers, the act of burning their hard-earned yield was a bitter pill to swallow. Their livelihoods were tethered to the cycles of planting and harvest, and the sight of their produce being consumed by flames was a stark reminder of the dissonance between agricultural capability and economic reality. Conversations around kitchen tables and in the fields were tinged with frustration as families tried to reconcile the sight of their hard work going up in smoke with the understanding that it was, somehow, for the greater good. The farmers, pragmatic by necessity, understood the rationale, but could not easily reconcile it with their labor's tangible output. This frustration was palpable, though largely unstated, woven into the fabric of their daily interactions with the agricultural officers and POWs. The POWs, assigned to assist in various tasks around the camp and local farms, brought a unique perspective to this tableau. Many hailed from regions in Germany where food shortages were a constant challenge, and the notion of surplus grain was an unfamiliar luxury. As they watched the grain burn, they were reminded of their families back home, enduring the harsh realities of rationing and scarcity. This juxtaposition of abundance and deprivation underscored the inequities wrought by war, transcending national borders and ideologies. In their barracks at night, conversations often turned to home, to the familiar faces and places left behind, and to the hope that somehow their efforts here might speed their return. The camp administration, tasked with overseeing the well-being and productivity of the POWs, maintained a delicate balance between security and humane treatment. The presence of German soldiers in rural Iowa was a testament to the complexities of war, where enemies were housed and fed on foreign soil. The administration's role extended beyond mere oversight. It included facilitating educational programs and work assignments that aimed to keep the POWs engaged and productive. Classes in English, agriculture, and various trades were offered, providing the prisoners with skills that could one day be useful upon their return home. These efforts were in line with the Geneva Convention, reflecting an adherence to international standards even amidst the adversities of war. As the day wore on, the sky over Camp Algona began to darken, mirroring the mood of the proceedings. The agricultural officers concluded their tasks, ensuring that the ash pile, a testament to the day's labor, was sufficiently documented. The camp administration continued its routine, preparing for the evening roll call and the subsequent quiet hours that punctuated camp life. The POWs, their day's work concluded, returned to their barracks, where discussions of the day's events would unfold, adding another layer to their understanding of the war and its far-reaching consequences. The barracks, with their sparse furnishings and the constant hum of whispering voices, became a haven for reflection and camaraderie. The broader rural setting of Iowa remained unchanged, a landscape of fertile fields and small communities grappling with the challenges of wartime production and distribution. The paradox of surplus and scarcity encapsulated the essence of the era, where efficiency often trumped sentiment. The events of the day, though routine in their execution, highlighted the intricate dance of resource management in a world at war. Every decision, every action, was a calculated move in the chess game of survival, where each piece played its part in the larger strategy of war. As the story of the grain burning unfolded, it became part of the larger narrative of Camp Algona and the role it played in the wartime economy. The camp's existence, a necessity born of conflict, served as a microcosm of the broader geopolitical landscape, where the lines between ally and adversary blurred in the pursuit of pragmatic solutions. The POWs, farmers, and administrators, each with their distinct roles, contributed to a tapestry of interactions that defined this unique chapter in history. Their stories, woven together, created a narrative rich with lessons about resilience, adaptation, and the enduring human spirit. The day concluded with a sense of resignation and reflection. The grain, once a symbol of sustenance and prosperity, had been reduced to ash, its fate dictated by forces beyond the control of those who had nurtured it. The POWs retired to their quarters, their thoughts inevitably drifting to their homeland, where scarcity was a constant companion. The farmers returned to their homes, their spirits tempered by the knowledge that another harvest would soon demand their attention and resilience. As the night enveloped the camp, the quiet was punctuated only by the occasional rustle of wind through the trees, a gentle reminder that life, despite it all, continued. In the quiet aftermath of the day's events, the story of the grain burning at Camp Algona became etched into the annals of history, a testament to the complexities of wartime resource management and the enduring spirit of those who lived through it. The interplay of abundance and scarcity, efficiency and sentiment would continue to shape the landscape of Iowa and the lives of its inhabitants, even as the world beyond grappled with the tumultuous consequences of global conflict. It was a story of contradictions, of loss and hope, of destruction and renewal, echoing through the fields of Iowa and beyond, a poignant reminder of the enduring impact of war on both the land and the people who call it home. The scene at Camp Algona in the summer of 1944 was a microcosm of the larger wartime dynamic between resource management and human need, a vivid representation of the contradictions and complexities that defined life during World War II. Located in the heartland of America, Camp Algona was a place where the pastures of Iowa met the pragmatic demands of wartime logistics. The German POWs, transported from the turmoil of European battlefields, found themselves in a landscape that was both fertile and perplexing, emblematic of a world turned upside down by conflict. The POWs, predominantly young men from various regions of Germany, were thrust into an environment that was a stark contrast to what they had known. The sprawling fields of Iowa, with their rich, dark soil and rows of corn reaching towards the sky, were a testament to the agricultural bounty of the American Midwest. Yet this abundance was juxtaposed against the grim realities they knew their families faced back home, realities of rationing, scarcity, and the constant specter of war. The irony was not lost on them as they toiled in a land of plenty while their loved ones endured deprivation. Their daily routines at Camp Algona were a peculiar blend of the mundane and the extraordinary. Tasked with assisting in various agricultural and industrial duties, the POWs were integrated into the local workforce to compensate for labor shortages caused by the war. This integration was a pragmatic solution, reflecting the interconnectedness of global economies even amidst the throes of conflict. Working alongside American civilians, the German prisoners became both a reminder of the ongoing war and an essential part of the agricultural cycle that sustained the home front and the Allied forces overseas. The sight that perhaps most vividly encapsulated the paradox of their situation was the grain burnings. To the POWs, many of whom came from agrarian backgrounds, the act of setting fire to surplus grain was a bewildering spectacle. In Germany, food was scarce and every resource was stretched to its limit. In contrast, here in Iowa, the abundance was such that excess grain was deliberately destroyed to maintain economic stability. The War Food Administration, responsible for ensuring stable commodity prices, enforced strict guidelines to prevent the market from being flooded. Surplus grain, beyond the capacity of existing storage facilities, would spoil under Iowa's humid summer conditions, leading to financial losses and potential destabilization of wartime food supply chains. Thus, the grain burnings, though disheartening, were deemed a necessary measure. The agricultural officers overseeing these burnings provided farmers with detailed explanations, emphasizing the importance of maintaining humidity thresholds and warehouse capacities. The farmers, whose livelihoods depended on the cyclical rhythms of planting and harvest, participated with a sense of resignation. They understood the economic rationale, but could not entirely suppress the emotional dissonance it evoked. The state auditors meticulously documented the ash piles, ensuring accountability within the complex mechanisms of wartime governance. These records, dry and procedural, belied the emotional weight of the actions they chronicled. For the German POWs, witnessing these burnings was a lesson in the harsh realities of wartime economics. Despite understanding the rationale behind it, the emotional impact was profound. Their thoughts inevitably wandered to their families in Saarland and other regions of Europe, where scarcity had become an intrinsic part of life. Reports from the home front, when they could obtain them, spoke of inventive means of coping with shortages, such as boiling potato peels for sustenance, a stark contrast to the abundance they witnessed in Iowa. Within Camp Algona, the administration was a model of organizational efficiency, mirroring the broader agricultural operations. The routine was carefully structured, with POWs engaging in educational programs designed to equip them with skills useful upon their eventual repatriation. These classes covered a range of subjects from American history to agricultural science, and were part of a broader effort to maintain order and morale among the prisoners. The POWs, while far from home and caught in the machinery of a war they had not chosen, were given opportunities for personal growth and learning, a testament to the camp's commitment to humane treatment. The collaboration between the POWs and the American workforce, though born of necessity, fostered an exchange of techniques and experiences that enriched the agricultural practices of both groups. The German prisoners brought with them knowledge of farming techniques and machinery that complemented the American methods, creating a unique blend of expertise that benefited the local agriculture. This unanticipated cultural exchange, occurring in the shadow of war, highlighted the interconnectedness of human experiences across national divides. Yet, despite the structured environment and purposeful activities, the act of grain burning remained a focal point for the POWs' reflections. The flames consuming what could not be salvaged were a stark illustration of the economic forces at play, forces that prioritized systemic stability over individual sentiment. This was the crux of wartime resource management, a balancing act between abundance and scarcity, efficiency and empathy. As the summer of 1944 progressed, Camp Algona continued its operations, its routines punctuated by the occasional arrival of new prisoners and the departure of others who were transferred to different sites. The camp administration, adhering to military protocol, maintained meticulous records of these movements, ensuring that each individual's status was accounted for within the broader wartime apparatus. These records, while necessary for logistical purposes, also served as a testament to the camp's role in the intricate web of wartime operations. The broader context of wartime America, with its industrial output reaching unprecedented levels, provided a backdrop to the localized events at Camp Algona. The nation's agricultural sector, critical to both domestic consumption and the supply of Allied forces overseas, operated under a complex framework of regulations designed to optimize production and distribution. This framework, while effective in maintaining equilibrium, occasionally resulted in paradoxical situations such as the burning of surplus grain. In Iowa, the fields continued to yield their bounty, a testament to the state's fertile soil and the industriousness of its farmers. Yet, the visual of grain burnings lingered, a reminder of the intricate interplay between human endeavor and economic necessity. The German POWs, with their unique vantage point, were witnesses to this complexity, their presence adding yet another layer to the multifaceted tapestry of life on the American home front during World War II. The story of Camp Algona, while rooted in the specifics of time and place, resonated with broader themes of conflict and cooperation, scarcity and abundance. These themes, woven into the fabric of everyday life, underscored the challenges and ironies inherent in wartime resource management. As the war continued, the lessons learned from such experiences would inform future policies and practices, shaping the post-war world in ways yet to be realized. In the autumn of 1944, as the harvest season approached once more, the cycle of planting and reaping resumed. The fields of Iowa stood ready to yield their crops, the farmers prepared to navigate the familiar terrain of economic and logistical challenges. For the German POWs, their time in Camp Algona remained a defining chapter in their wartime journey, a period marked by both the mundanity of daily labor and the profound realizations born of observing a world at once abundant and constrained. The events at Camp Algona, documented meticulously by military and civilian authorities alike, would become part of the historical record, a testament to the intricate dance of policy and practice during a time of global upheaval. The German POWs, their reflections shaped by the stark contrasts they witnessed, would carry these memories with them, a reminder of the complexities of war and the enduring nature of human resilience. The lessons gleaned from their experiences would inform their understanding of the post-war world, a world they hoped would be shaped by peace and cooperation rather than conflict and destruction. In the waning months of 1944, Camp Algona continued to echo with the routine rhythms that had defined its existence throughout the year. The German POWs, having spent months immersed in the agricultural cycles and logistical operations of Iowa, transitioned into a period of introspection as winter approached. The agricultural officers, whose roles had been pivotal in managing the surplus grain and coordinating labor, prepared to shift focus from the harvest to maintaining the camp through the colder months. As the year concluded, the POWs at Camp Algona faced the reality that their stay in Iowa would likely extend into the following year. The anticipated end of the war brought with it both hope and uncertainty. The POWs, many of whom had formed bonds with local farmers and camp personnel, began to consider the prospect of repatriation and the challenges awaiting them in a war-torn Europe. The educational programs at the camp continued to serve as a foundation for personal development, equipping the prisoners with skills and knowledge that would be invaluable upon their return home. The local civilian population, having endured the complexities of wartime resource management and the emotional toll of grain destruction, looked ahead to the coming planting season with renewed resolve. The farmers, who had witnessed the paradoxes of surplus and scarcity firsthand, were more attuned to the intricacies of the global food system and their role within it. The experiences of 1944 had underscored the interconnectedness of local and global economies, a lesson that would inform agricultural practices and policy decisions in the post-war years. The meticulous records maintained by the camp administration and agricultural officers provided a comprehensive account of the year's activities, serving as both a historical document and a guide for future resource management strategies. These records, along with the personal reflections of those involved, highlighted the delicate balance between economic efficiency and humanitarian considerations that had characterized the period. As the POWs and local community members reflected on the events of 1944, the broader implications of their experiences came into focus. The challenges of managing surplus grain amidst wartime scarcity offered valuable insights into the complexities of resource allocation and the necessity of adaptable systems in times of crisis. The story of Camp Algona, with its unique interplay of agricultural abundance and logistical constraints, became a case study in the multifaceted nature of wartime economies and the resilience required to navigate them. In the years following the war, the lessons learned at Camp Algona would resonate in discussions of agricultural policy and international cooperation. The experiences of the German POWs and their interactions with the local community served as a reminder of the potential for understanding and collaboration across cultural and national divides. As history moved forward, the legacy of Camp Algona stood as a testament to the enduring spirit of those who lived through it, their stories woven into the broader narrative of a world striving for peace and prosperity in the aftermath of conflict.